recognizes it.
Set.
Each of these pins represents a world record in an Olympic running event. Sorry to the hurdlers, we are not inclusive today. If there was a human athletic peak, pretty obvious, it's like right here, a lot of white space. And if you're anything like me, you can probably relate to this. You probably felt the most athletic sometime between your early 20s, mid 20s, maybe your late teens, depending on how your life went. But this is actually a little misleading. Let me show you. Let's isolate for an event reserved for the youth, sprinting, the 100-meter dash. This is the world record by age for our 100-meter dash, the relative performance percentage, steadily rising and rising until we find the undisputed GOAT just before his 23rd birthday. From here, we see a few big times in the mid-20s, Tyson Gay at 27, a decline, a plateau, and then something really weird. Justin Gatlin running a 9.74. Justin Gatlin running a personal best at my age, 33. This is personal to me because something has been happening a lot more in my life recently. Lately, when I talk to people around my age, they are beginning to act as though they are deceased, decomposed, and their athletic peaks aren't just behind them in the rearview mirror, they are accelerating away from that point. And I'll admit, I don't know if I'm any better. Behind talking about the weather, negative self-talk about one's age seems to be the biggest conversational icebreaker in our society, at least for those over the age of 30. But when do we decline? And how quickly? How much of this decline is due to age, physiology, and how much of this decline is due to what we are doing to ourselves, or rather, what we aren't doing? I didn't want to settle for just looking into this. I wanted to experience it. I want to prove that I did not peak in high school or my early 20s. So I created a challenge. 4 different tests, 1 month of training. For pure speed, we have the 100-meter dash. For endurance, we have the mile. For explosiveness, we have the vertical leap. And for strength, we have bench press. Why these tests? Well, they measure different fragments of athleticism, and importantly, each of them I have a PR in. For example, I have never run anything truly long distance. I haven't run a 5K, a 10K, or a marathon, but I do have a mile time from college, a mile time when I was in really good shape. My 100-meter dash came from my senior year. Anybody can look that up on the internet. My vertical at a combine just before I went overseas, and my bench press when I was lifting a lot during COVID. Having these PRs, or peaks, allows me to compare myself against 2 former versions of myself. The lifetime peak version of myself, as well as who I was at the beginning of these tests. So, let's go see where I'm at. So I Googled body fat test and this place showed up. I had never actually heard of a DEXA scan before, but the guy mentioned many people film themselves here, so I guess they're kind of a trend. Nonetheless, here are my results.
All right, just got done with the whole DEXA Fit experience, and some of it felt like it could be useful information, a baseline at least that I can return to, depending on how accurate it is. Some of it kind of felt like a carnival ride. It was like, you know, this is all I'm getting for my money. And again, I booked this thing yesterday. I have no freaking idea how accurate these things are. We'll see where we're at in a month.
Important note, I am in the worst shape of my life going into this.
That right one looks pretty fat. I look pretty big there.
I was a college and low-level pro basketball player, and I had always trained and taken care of myself until this last year. I have not worked out in about 5 months, and I haven't consistently worked out in probably a year. Enough with the excuses. It's time to test where I'm at. First, the event I am the most nervous about, the 100-meter dash.
Test day, baby. Pretty typical Seattle day. It's May. This is why we pay thousands of dollars to live here.
My PR in this event, which can be found online, came my senior year of high school when I ran a 12:12.
I'm hoping to God I'm close to 12. I remember 13, 14 seconds, but you were really slow in high school.
You're gonna need to find some fast twitch muscle between now and then.
14:39. Let's go.
That's definitely very slow, but we got a benchmark now. We'll be back.
These aren't on fire, Mikey.
You're probably wondering who that is. It's my brother. He agreed to do the challenge with me, but he also beat me. So I hate him.
My brother just ran a full second faster than me. That's not okay.
We in the 12.
Next came the mile, an event that I have never trained for. I've never trained for long distance, but when I was in college, the guards had to run a sub-6 mile at the University of Alaska for conditioning, and I came in at 5:58. But I have no idea what I am going to run going into this. Out of the gates, my brother and I stayed together for the first few laps. Then he pulled away again, and I ran a 7:55, taking an L to my brother, who's 35 and has a child.
Definitely underperformed. Not as good as I wanted to do. That's our first. We'll be back. Whew.
Finally, a test I can take comfort in. I was always bouncy, especially off 2 feet. My PR on the vert came at an overseas combine when I was 23, where my standing vert was 34 inches and my max was 38.
It's just science.
That is not what I did here. 27 and a half standing.
Really hope my brother sucks. It's not good for me.
Now the max 2 foot.
Like 32. Yeah. Roughly 32 for the max.
Yikes, I got a ways to go.
Sean's jumping higher than me right now. Yeah, it's not good for me.
Lastly, our final test, and my final chance to beat my brother.
We're using big bumper plates so we feel bigger. It's by design.
Bench is not my forte. I am not a barrel-chested bro, but I threw that thing up there a respectable 5 times. My brother, 40 more pounds and 2 more times. I am significantly off from my peaks, more than my brother and more than I would have expected. The question is, can I get back to these peaks in a month at the age of 33? To answer that, well, we got to get in shape. That means I need to make a plan. Here's the fun, or scary part, depending on how you look at it. I'm going to let AI do it.
I enjoy working with people.
I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to make my diet and workout plan. I am surrendering myself to artificial intelligence. Humanity's guinea pig. Maybe we've already reached that point. We're at a singularity and I just don't know it yet. Either way, 15 freaking minutes. We will see what it comes up with. Couple disclaimers. I am not a nutritionist. I don't freaking know what I'm doing with cooking. People talking about macros and all that stuff. I'm gonna prompt it, or at least see if I can get eggs in the morning, a little bit more eggs in the morning, because I know how to do that. And chicken, because, well, I spent some money in Europe. I would like to save some money here and make sure I get a decent amount of protein. We will see what it comes up with. We got a lot of competing goals here. I'm gonna start the clock. At first, I thought about reaching out to a bunch of training experts and trying to develop a really scientific plan, but that takes time, something we all struggle with, and money. I wanted to try something more realistic and accessible, something anyone can easily do. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm only giving myself 5 days a week to work out. So I give myself an hour and a half, 5 days a week to work out. Here's my workout plan and diet for week 1. I'll admit, I am not someone who cooks a lot, so I'm gonna have to figure some things out. And also, I haven't worked out like this in a long time.
All right, day 1, just got to the track here. Realizing something important. There is no warm-up in this workout routine. I am supposed to sprint in this workout routine. Not feeling great about that. We'll have to adjust that next week. Let's get after it. We're gonna start the clock now. The sprint workout the AI put together was 4x10 meter sprints, max effort, 60-second recovery, followed by 3x20 meter sprints with 2 minutes recovery in between each set. All right, so kind of what I expected. When I first saw the workout, I felt like it was maybe not that much. And I have 5 minutes of core now, maybe. So we're gonna get done earlier than expected.
Finished it out with my legs in squat day. However, I felt like I was stuck in the mud, and that feeling comes from the memories of sprinting, opening up and feeling light. How much of my slowness is due to age, and how much is due to just learning how to sprint again? So I was curious about this beyond just myself, and I was at a high school reunion this past week, kind of a strange experience, but I asked 10 of my closest friends when the last time was that they sprinted 100 meters. The average answer was 20. 13 years ago. And as I already shared, I am not any better. It had been 15 years since I've done this. Sure, in basketball, I sprinted small distances. In adult softball, you may be geared up a little bit on the base paths every now and then. But as far as 100 meters top gear, it had been over a decade for me, even 50 meters. That's a lot of inactivity, at least quite a while since I've sprinted. Of course, that's not the case for everyone. If we keep moving along our graph here, we find Gatlin again running very fast at the age of 35, beating Bolt.
It could be Gatlin as well! Justin Gatlin as the world champion!
A younger Bolt, but maybe you're quick to dismiss this. You're already punching the keystrokes into your keyboard. P-E-D. Okay, well, look beyond that. We'll go a little bit further in our graph here. We'll go to the age of 40, where Kim Collins ran a 9.93. Not only was this the fastest time ever for a 40-year-old, this was the fastest time that Collins ever ran. This doesn't look like the steep decline that most of us can relate to. Why was Gatlin beating a younger Bolt? Why was Collins PRing at the age of 40 in this youthful event?
Well, there's something unique about this man's story. Kim Collins had a small stature for a sprinter, about 5'11" and 160 pounds. He debuted in the 96 Olympic Games, and from here, he had a fairly steady rise up to 2003, where he was crowned world champion in Paris. And immediately following this feat, Collins admits something highly unusual for a sprinter. He didn't like training, so much so that he didn't really train. At max, he would train 3 days a week for no more than an hour, and when he didn't feel like it, he'd just call his coach up and say, yeah, I'm taking the day off. As for weights, too boring. Diet and supplements? No, we're not even doing protein powder. My man was just cruising at minimal effort, and he admitted this. He then experienced the typical sprinting decline after 2003, struggling to run under sub 10 for the next 9 years. Then something fascinating. Peaking at 38, then again at age 40? How did this happen? How did this man peak so late in his career? Well, according to reports, he started lifting weights with his wife, who was a personal trainer. In other words, Collins became more responsible as he aged. Something that many of us can relate to, something backed by heavily researched science, something I would like to present to you today.
I present the dipshit graph.
When you are born, you aren't really anything yet. Therefore, you aren't a dipshit. At 10, you're fooling around a little. Disobeying your parents is becoming more of the norm, but this is nothing like your middle school years, where the 4th of July becomes a piccolo ping-pong competition, and you're regularly slamming sleeves of Oreos and half gallons of milk. By 18, you're driving a lifted 99 Chevy Tahoe with 2 questionable 12-inch aftermarket subs. Your definition of eating healthy is hitting Subway, which you only do on game days, for a foot long, a cookie, and opting for the Diet Coke after a week of Taco Bell and Panda Express. By 22, you have peaked. Binge drinking has become the norm. You think you have a firm grip on reality and how the world works, given your summer job at P.F. Chang's and a 4-year degree in hand. You are ready to take the world on. At 25, the decline has set in. With a few years of work experience, you realize the world is much different than you anticipated, but you are still very much a corporate slave, and you've traded college bars for happy hours and clubbing. At 30, you are fully feeling the hangovers. You aren't hitting the bars nearly as much. You've cleaned up your diet a bit. You realize that in order to attract a partner, you need to be a little bit more responsible, and you're reading now, and not because someone's making you. You actually enjoy interpreting letters on a page. And finally, here at 33, in this pure hypothetical, you maybe have a few social beers a week. You realize nutrition facts aren't just for your mother, they have real consequences. You're kind of terrified of sprinting or lifting legs. And one day, some college kid flies by you in a neighborhood with 2 12-inch subs, challenging the structural integrity of your house, and you hate him. You hate him. Then you realize you were him. This is the dipshit graph.
How does this apply? Well, most of us peaked in dipshittedness, including myself, right around here, where science says we peak athletically in the form of running. So, science. Collins was more like us, which is often the antithesis of sprinting culture. He wasn't Noah Lyles following a strict diet, lifting and training at elite levels, pushing his body at the prime age. He was enjoying the ride, and there's nothing wrong with that. Seems like a pretty chill dude. But what can we learn from all this? What can we take from this Collins story all the way out here? Well, it means opportunity, because the older that you are, the less of a dipshit you typically are. The more likely you are to maybe follow a workout plan or diet. Even at the highest levels, we have examples of this. By all accounts, Collins peaked here at 40 because he didn't start truly training until his mid to late 30s. Most of us have never seriously followed a workout plan or diet plan. And that means the peaks are still well within reach, even into our 40s. Week 1 of the books, May 26th, feel like a child learning how to walk for the first time in the form of sprinting. Very few of us are opening it up for a dead sprint. I feel like I am learning how to do that again. I mean, I haven't done that since high school. It's been over a decade for me, and it's kind of intimidating. I was pretty intimidated, and I was remembering my high school coach saying something about like, hey, sprinters don't actually jog to warm up, they skip. So I'm gonna ask the machine about this. I'm gonna copy and paste the workout, make some adjustments. We don't wanna bench 3 times in 1 week.
This definitely feels like overtraining. I'm gonna tap out. I don't wanna mess up my chest, so it is what it is.
Chest is something that I don't really have a lot of. My PR came in the COVID years when basketball was shut down, and I think I can definitely still peak in this. In fact, most people can, and most people are aware that you can keep getting stronger well into your 30s. If we look at the powerlifting records for the 181-pound weight class, the bench world record came at the age of 37. This also tracks for the strength-adjacent field events like shot put. The world record came in the 30s. The hammer toss came in the 30s. Again, not the same thing as bench press by any measure, but if I had to guess, bench press is maybe more closely related to shot put and hammer toss than, let's say, a marathon. A lot of the world records for powerlifting, as well as these strength field events, came in the 30s. But again, similar to our sprinting versus distance fall off, and maybe the findings being a little bit inconsistent with my assumptions, I'm left wondering how much of this is cultural factors. How many sprint bros are there compared to gym bros in their 30s? I mean, not a single one of my friends had sprinted recently, including myself, but we had all lifted chests. So how much of this later peak has to do with people are still just lifting later in their life, at least more than sprinting? Speaking of results, I am not seeing a result I anticipated. We are officially halfway through this, and I'm not losing weight. I feel like I should be losing weight. The other thing is, I miss Frosty Mugs.
This is Budweiser.
I feel like I should be losing weight, because I'm not drinking, I'm not doing all this stuff, and I'm not losing weight. So, anyways, week 3. My playing weight was always 180 to 185 pounds, and I'm surprised after grinding for 2 weeks to not see any weight loss, but rather a few pound gain. AI told me to start eating at a deficit, so I'm going to cut my daily calorie intake by 750. This doesn't feel like great advice for my PR goals, but it's what the machine told me to do. I'm also going to work in a little more plyometrics, hoping to help my vertical and explosiveness. I will never forget going off to college for the first month and transforming as an athlete. Now, I went to JUCO, so I didn't have some fancy strength and conditioning coach. Instead, oh baby, we had a tubed TV, Sean T, Insanity.
Then you're ready for insanity.
Come on, get it and go.
Now, this might kind of seem like a joke, but plyos completely changed me. I went from just being able to dunk on lobs to basically being able to dunk everything. And for that reason, I think this might be the hardest event for me to PR in. I was training fairly hard at my prime age. I still think I can do this though.
You're right there. Come on, go.
All right, so my biggest challenge outside of avoiding Frosty Mugs right now is these guys. I don't know if it's caused by these guys.
You look a lot dumber doing this by yourself.
Calf here about, I don't know, 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in, and I can't tell if I'm just being a bitch or if it's actually something. I'm gonna lean on the side of just being kind of a bitch. I'm not really sure what to do about it.
It feels like cheating if I go get a nice new pair of shoes and I run my mile in that, because the new shoes are, from what I understand, very powerful, make you go a little bit faster.
Left calf is definitely still a little tight.
I think I'm just gonna keep chugging away in these things. That is the biggest pain that I'm dealing with right now, though. These shoes are especially bothering me in an event that I think I have a great shot at a PR, and oddly the event that I hate the most. Endurance is like wisdom. It peaks later in life. Later than, say, sprinting. That is the general sentiment that floats around, and I wanted to see what that decline looked like, so I graphed the world records by age in comparison to the sprints. However, as I was finishing those later years, something odd began to stand out. Sprinting aged more gracefully. Between 15 and 40, kind of trading places with the mile and the marathon. But after 40, the age record for the 100-meter dash was closer to the world record than the mile or the marathon. Now, there are other ways to look at this, and it's totally possible that from those vantage points, endurance ages more gracefully than sprinting. But this was a fairly straightforward metric in a fairly straightforward conclusion, and it was surprising to me. And it made me wonder how much of this belief that sprinting has this fall off is just our own bias. Additionally, the average age of a world record holder for distance was about 23 and a half years old, about the same age as our sprinting world records. All right, so something not so good happened at the gym today. I was benching, and on the way up on the bench, I felt a little strained pull, and I couldn't get the bar up. I was stuck under there for, 30, 40 seconds, kicking, yelling. Everybody's in their own little world now. They got AirPods in, so nobody really hears anything. I'm not kidding. I was kicking, yelling. Finally, this poor gal sees me. She comes over. We barely finessed this thing up onto the lower hook. I slither out of there, pretty embarrassed. Thankful of her, but also a little worried because I'm about a week away from this test, and this is kind of bugging me now. So I'm gonna have to ask artificial intelligence, what do I do about this? I gotta admit, I'm pretty excited. I'm excited to see what I'm gonna do in at least 3 of the 4 events. I'm a little worried about this now, but the running and jumping, I am excited to see what I do. And it's weird, as you get into something like this, what I've noticed is you really stop comparing yourself to others. At least I'm not. I'm just thinking of my former self. Like, what did I run that first time for the test? That's one of the benefits of just kind of before you get into it, just having something you can measure for yourself and come back to is just, hey, am I better than my former self? Am I better than I was the other day? So I'm excited to dust 2 people, hopefully, my former self and my freaking brother. So final week, here we go. After 1 week of training and a few rest days, the moment had finally arrived. Test day. I need to beat my brother. Now, any hooper can relate to a day where you're just feeling bouncy, and this was the first time in over a year I felt like that. First test, 30 inches. Now to my brother. 32. That's an L for me. But improvement. Now the 2-foot max vert. $34. Sean, 37. Back-to-back L's. But big improvement. I'm pretty happy with these results. As mentioned earlier, this might be the hardest PR for me to hit, but I am well within reach at this point. See how the pec feels first time putting 185 back. After nearly decapitating myself and injuring my pec the week before, I got a good warm-up in and 3. Still bugging me. Bummer. My brother hit 250 by 3, and little broing me in a manner I haven't felt in a while.
Oh, I got this next one. I got it. Let's go.
Is that a PR? I think so. I don't know if I've ever done that. That's fucking maybe?
After 2 events, the score is now 2-0 Sean with 1 PR on the board. It's time. After 1 day's rest, it's time for the tip of the spear, the 100-meter dash. And this time, we're going to race.
Now, we had to switch our direction because these kids were playing soccer right next to the finish line, and they knocked over our camera, actually, but they graciously agreed to be our starters. With a handful of 17-year-olds spectating, I now risked my reputation at the scholastic level.
3, 2, 1.
Out the gates, my brother was a little ahead of me, but I stayed with his stride and started to feel like I was pulling back to him. Closing in, then he pulled back away. Another L.
Woo! I have to hang it up now. That's 2 L's to my older brother. And it's older in a bad way now. It's older as in he's 35.
But some serious improvement.
What did we clock at?
12:46.
Hey, for me?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go. That's an improvement for both of us, man.
This blew my expectations away after running in the mid-14s the first go-around.
June 18th, and we got 12:46. Honestly, I am stoked about a 12:46. Whew, that's 1 month. 1 month, we're that close.
A 2-second time improvement in the 100-meter dash is a completely different athlete. I was happy with this, but not happy with what stood before me. The final test, the mile. After a 10-minute rest, we took off. 1 lap in, I was ahead of my pace. However, I was feeling a little heavy and slowed down to 1:37 in my second lap. By our third lap, I slowed even more, but I held an edge on my brother. Now, I needed to run my fastest lap to PR, and no better motivator than my older brother chasing me down. This was familiar territory. My brother clipping at my heels, memories came flooding in, like when I would throw the basketball at his face after a fight and run to the bathroom to lock myself in until my parents got home from work, worried about my survival and reputation. I broke free. There is one clear protagonist in this story, and I am narrowing in on a PR time.
All right, that's rep 1, all right? We got 2 more? Whew. Whew, I know it doesn't seem like a fast enough time to be dead like this, but I'm dead. Whew. 6 what? 6:26.
Missed it. In a classic middle distance novice fashion, my second and third laps were significantly slower than my first and last.
We're almost on world record pace though, you know? We just run 3 laps, they run 4, I think we're good. It's kind of like shooting 68 on the front 9. What was our last split? I ran the 4th lap 13 seconds faster than my third one. That's just the epitome of a inexperienced runner. So what do you think, month 2, should we run this back?
I would do anything. I would replace the mile with any other measurement. Like we got to do the mile. We could row kayaks. I don't care.
I think we got to keep doing it. It's not fair if we're talking about being athletic. And this is not even long distance. A lot of people are watching this and they're probably like, dude, that is not long distance. That is still middle distance. But I think if we're being fair, as much as it sucks, we got to do it. I'm down to run it back if you are.
Can we put it to a vote in the comments? What we can replace the mile with? Because
we can't replace the mile because they're going to say something along.
I know. I've said this to you before, but my argument is if you're training for the vert, you're training for bench, and the 100-meter dash, those are all 3 explosive things, and then you just mix in a kind of a middle distance.
I agree. I totally understand that it's not the same. But I don't think we can just say long distance aerobic exercise just doesn't matter. We're not going to do anything for it. As much as our sports world has been anaerobic events and just explosiveness, I think we got to be fair to the long distance. I think it's the least enjoyable thing to train for. I still cannot wrap my head around how people want to do this for fun. Maybe we'll catch a runner's high.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't freaking know. I would love to hit that. Maybe we just got the wrong mentality every time we go into this. But I think we got to keep doing the
Nope.
I don't know. I might have a cheat meal today though. I'm getting tired of chicken.
No kidding. And
All
a
right.
beer.
And beer and a frosty mug. So I didn't peak, I didn't PR in any events, but I did dramatically improve, especially in the running events. And there's something strange that stands out in all that.
There is no way that my physiology changed that much. I am not 15 to 20% different, stronger, more explosive, and I can't help but wonder how much of all this has to do with this, our brain, finding the rhythm to run, just learning new things. And I think there's something we can all pull from that. Training for performance versus training for the aesthetics. When you train for performance, you just improve so quickly, especially if it's something new or novel to you they haven't done in a while. You don't maybe see that as much with the aesthetics. And the irony is, oftentimes, over time, the aesthetics follow. At least, I hope they do. And on that note, I'm going to say something I thought I would never say. I think I'm going to keep running. It's difficult for me to even say that out loud, but I want to be moderately tired for long periods of time. I want to peak in all 4 events. I am going to peak in all 4 events post-high school. I'm going to keep doing this. Last corny thing. Life is not a peak. As I'm staring at the Olympics, it's more of a mountain range. There's always something new to summit. Put that on a freaking poster. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and take care.